The United States does not have access to Binance. It has Binance US, which is not the same at all. It's a joke.
All right, now we just had Token 2049 in Singapore, but are these cryptocurrency events and conferences critical enough of the entire crypto sector, or are they just complete show fests? Now we're going to discuss this with Kevin Rahman Sultani. Now Kevin is a serial entrepreneur who has worked as a blockchain technologist and builder for 13 years. He is the founder of the Gamma Group and an alternative investment advisor and Web3 assets VC. He's based in Los Angeles and Dubai. Now, this is going to be great, so stick around for this. Kevin, it's great to have you on the BeInCrypto podcast. Now, you've just come back from Token 2049 in Singapore. What was your impression this year? Are these conferences really like getting critical enough? Like, you've been speaking at cryptocurrency events since 2017. You told me. Like, I get the impression that a lot of these events are just one big back-clapping, circle-jerking, gas ladder shill fest. Would I be right?
First of all, what a one-liner that we're going to have to reuse and use and reuse again in the future. Yeah, man, since 2017, I got an invite to go to Georgia, the country of Georgia, at the Black Sea, what was it, Blockchain Summit, something like that. I know it had Black Sea and Summit in there. Yeah, the difference is major. Retail was rearing but confused back then. And yet it was definitely more education. It was definitely more notepads. It was definitely more learning, right? These days, let's just be very honest. To answer your question, no, they're not nearly as critical enough. And who do we blame for that? We can look in the mirror. We can look to, media. We can look to the organizer. We can look to certain or all of those people. But I don't blame anybody. I blame myself. Like if you're going to get on stage and say something, you should mean it. You should say it with vigor. And when I said that education was very heavy back then, and it's no longer the case because let's just be honest, no one's really coming to these things to learn something. Like they got YouTube University or their buddy who shills them a shitcoin or something of the other. And that's why they're there. But no, they're definitely 50% the circle jerking, hey, buddy, great project. And then you don't even know anything about that project or care to read about its tokenomics or white paper otherwise. Whereas back then it was like, oh, you have a white paper. Oh, it's 400 pages.
Yeah.
I'm intimidated now, right? It meant something. Now, that's not to say back then was any more clean, right? We've still had the scamming companies. We've still have the overpaying products that have expendable money that are paying organizers for front row seats and front row booths at the event, and bigger the better. And I'm sorry, bigger is not always better, right? It just is bigger. So yeah, I'm not happy with all of them around the world. There's still a less of a split, but it's still 80-20, 80% good and 20% bad. You go to CES in America in Las Vegas, and you're just not going to get an 80-20 split. It'll be 99-1. They'll be lucky if a scamming company or a really fake product was able to pass that application process. I would have hoped by now we're there, but it's crypto, baby.
That's true. I just wanted to say, like, in all that noise, that marketing noise that happens at these conferences, is there any way for the decent sort of utility, the real use case projects to even get through these days?
I mean, how deep are your pockets, right? How big is your TGE event, and how many supporters are going to push you to, and that's this funny thing to say, right? Because the best projects won't be seen at Token. I'm talking about the startup level, right? Not the exchanges, not the 50, 100 million plus revenue type of companies that are working with BlackRock and Silicon Valley. Like they don't need to come to Token, or they're just coming to Token for marketing, which are exchanges, right? Most of the exchanges. But the startups that are doing something of value, like you tell me, would your investor be happy you spending $20,000 on a booth and just going to Singapore, the most expensive city in the world, one of them, and paying for 5 people to fly out. So after all, you spend about 50, 60K just to hand out, 10,000 cards, and 99% of those are useless and meaningless. So I don't know. It's up for debate, but I would not be happy if a smaller startup doing great work was spending that kind of money just buying a boost.
Right.
We advise them otherwise. A lot of our portfolio companies are skipping these events, and that's not talking bad about the event. We understand the value of being there, but I just don't think it's for every startup. I don't think it's for every project.
Well, it's a good point you made there as well. It's more of a big boys event, isn't it, really? Because it costs a lot. The ROI is not very clear, right? And you're competing against so many people.
But big boys, in high school, or if we're going to use that proverbial analogy, then big boys are jocks, right? And now big boys are brainy nerds. So which big boy are we talking about? Are we sitting at the big boy table? That's a popularity fest with the jocks, and you know what projects those are. Using that analogy, are we sitting at the big boy table of what investors want, like the Silicon Valley nerds? Because I would argue the latter don't need to be paying, again, $50,000, $60,000 at these events, right?
I love this analogy of the jocks and the nerds. So would the nerds be at side events maybe, and the jocks are up there in the main auditorium on stage?
Yeah, paid, right? Paid sponsors for sure.
Right.
And again, that's not to say every single person on stage that's paid is bad. That's the way they felt that their market, their analysis showed that getting on stage at Token right before or after Arthur Hayes or Tom Lee would do something for them. But if you've ever been to one of these, people look at the lineup. I specifically was very excited to see the Robinhood CEO, Tenev. And as soon as that was done, there was not a single soul in the room, because I think it was like a regulation panel after. And there could have been a senator, there could have been a big person on that, but no one came for a regulation panel, right? And then there was still a guy selling like a POS system or something of the sort. And the room was 5% full, and he paid to be there. And so he clearly didn't know his audience. Right. He clearly didn't. And I'm not saying he was bad. He was definitely one of the nerd types. He just didn't know his audience. You got to know your audience. You got to know your market.
Right. I see what you mean. And yeah, Nora, you were there as well. Like, what was your sort of viewpoint on like all the glitz and the big names and stuff like that?
I mean, the big names, as Kevin said, like loads of people went. But I think the majority of the speaking slots and panels, you would say, maybe not exaggerating too much, but like 10-20% full, right? Like as Kevin said, it wasn't packed by any means. And were people listening to it fully? I don't think so either, because they were kind of absorbed by other things and all the distractions that were happening. So and going back to your question about it, people need to be more critical at these events? I think it is missing that aspect, right? Because the big brands are paying for the spot. So then there is the obligation for people to be not too harsh on feedback or whatever it might be. If it's a panel, then the moderator is not going to go right into all these panelists if they're going to be, from the big brands again. So I think we're lacking that kind of thing, lacking at least some constructive discussions.
It's like any paid media. If there was a bad project in the room and you just knew it and you had proof, even, would you have the balls to get up on the table and point and say, "There he is, he's back. How did you let him in this room?" And not the media. It can be any one of us, right? You can call me American. You can just call me bored or brash, but I'm that guy, right? I'm that guy that you don't want to see at the conference, because like, why are we now, realistically 10 years into this hardcore building in blockchain, and then for 15 years in the entire industry, it's not so young anymore. We can't use that excuse anymore. Can't just say, "Oh, it's a young industry. It's just finding its way out." There's trillions of dollars pouring into this thing. You got guys on stage this time. A common theme was America, right? Let's be honest. It was an America fest. And whether that was planted or not, whether that was, worked on or not, it was an America Fest. By that, I mean, there was a lot of American talent, a lot of Silicon Valley, Wall Street talent. They're very wise. They're not shilling anything. They're making hundreds of billions of dollars for their companies, and they have very good factual information. Yes, I am American, and yes, I am biased toward things that come from that country, but it's because the best products tend to come from that place, right? Especially when it comes to now crypto and the hyper speed of the Genius Act and the Trump administration. It was an America Fest, especially when the stablecoins started getting talked about. Tom Lee started talking about the DATs and what fastest growing DAT of all time with his Ethereum fund and Bitmine. So these are all facts. This isn't just like, oh, there's the American talking shit again. No, it's factual, right? There's really good stuff coming out of there, and it was shown on stage. Then I don't know if that was planted, if it was genius, absolute genius for the marketing teams coming out of there, but there was some really good information, and the world was put on notice, definitely from American companies. And a lot of those are taking a lot of market share.
So the major trends that you thought this year, Kevin, were stablecoins and DATs?
Yeah, stablecoins for sure. American or not, but I say American because you got USD1 coming out of the World Liberty Fi. You had the World Liberty Fi guys there. It is the fastest growing stablecoin. You had Tether. Arguably, where are they? Who are they? Are they American? Are they Italian? Are they Serbian? What are they? Who are they? But guess who they're in bed with, and guess who they own, what they own the most of is American treasuries, right? And so billions of dollars is pouring into American treasuries via Tether's company. They're investing in it. And you would argue that they're America's baby right now because they're doing a lot together. Then you had the USD1 guys from World Liberty Fi. World Liberty guys were on stage. They obviously have insane partnerships. Whatever you think of them, whatever you want to, think of that 5-letter last name of theirs, it's taking up market share, which is why I said it was an America First Fest, and they all had their balls in their hand, very brashly saying, if you think the dollar's going away, if you think that the USD1 or the US-backed stablecoins are going away, then you're just going to be left behind. Because with the Genius Act and this administration having 3.5 more years, yeah, you better buckle in. You better buckle up. They're gonna see the market share, and why not? They have the furthest ahead technologies.
Well, that is interesting, isn't it? But it's kind of, there's the irony there with you mentioned their Tether and its ownership of US debt. Like I think it's like 6th or 7th biggest owner of US treasuries globally. And then also we have World Liberty Financial as well, and the Trump administration, Cantor Fitzgerald, cozying up to Circle, like all cozying up to the establishment really in the US. The big thing, I suppose, that a lot of purists in the cryptocurrency space are thinking now is, what would Satoshi think of the way crypto has gone?
Well said. I mean, but we've been, forget about like this whole stablecoin America First thing, and that we said that it's been going south for a long time. If we want to talk about through Satoshi's eyes and decentralization,
yes, you're right.
The way that the exchanges have been acting over the years, the way that the DEX versus SEX and all of it's none of it is kosher with what Satoshi dreamed of.
Exactly. No, you're dead right there. And then the concentration of Bitcoin miners and everyone basically holding their crypto holdings on centralized exchanges and all that sort of stuff. You're dead right.
I mean, again, like it's crazy to say this after 13 years in the game and never trusting these exchanges, never in a million years, but they might be the safest place right now. That's the crazy part, because
it's interesting.
Because like JP Morgan or Charles Schwab that runs my stock account, right? I can't just take it offline and put it in a wallet and hope that I can trade Tesla stock live. Like that's not a good example, but like crypto potentially might be a little more safe on these exchanges, and especially after this Bybit attack. And how quickly they were able to counter it with the cybersecurity threats and then finding it. it sounds crazy and it sounds bad, 1.2 billion, but it's mere pennies in the long run. And the way they handled that, and the way they were able to recoup and reward, but repay in some essence, it's good. We've gone through FTX. We went through
exactly on MT Gox. It's much less precarious than the
I can't believe I'm
past. No, it is painful. It really is. I know what you mean. Nori, what like when it comes to actual like major trends, what did you like? Was there any major trends that you thought, well, actually, that's interesting?
For me, I went more to the sex stuff. They were really pushing for payments, right? So they're trying to get this mass adoption because I think they are saturated in terms of the crypto audience. So what's next? They want to make crypto more useful in day-to-day life. And how do you do that? You do it through payments. So they were like, the OKXs, the BitGets, they were all pushing for payments for sure. I think wallets are all trying to figure out how to do tokens. Some of them are doing airdrops, of course, and some of them are trying to figure out how to incentivize people to use tokens and keep the price up. That's for sure. But all of them are moving to usability, especially across different chains. Paying gas fees in native tokens is a pain in the ass. So I know Rabi's doing it, and I'm sure all the others are following suit with native gas wallets so that people don't have to think about it. That's the next step. Because even for me, I'm not going to have random ARBs or Solana lying around all the time to pay for the native gas fees, right? And it gets super annoying. So I think that's a really cool development for sure.
Right. Like, I suppose like that leads me to, if I say to somebody, I don't know, like members of my family, hey, use these crypto payment rails. And they're used to using a bank app within the UK where you can send money to people without paying anything. And then they're like, well, here, why do I have to actually get this random cryptocurrency to put on this, go on a centralized exchange, blah, 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 put it to my wallet, then use that to actually, pay the gas to make the transaction. So do you think these account abstraction initiatives are bringing in people from outside the crypto bubble? I suppose my overall question here really is, did you see any inkling of anyone outside the crypto bubble, like coming in this year, or is the crypto bubble just tightening?
No. I mean, this year at Token, for sure, day one, there was a theme going around for me personally that people would come up and it was their first ever crypto event. And there was a lot of those. And then I asked what they did, and the answer is quite wide variety, but a lot of Web 2 people. But are they constituted as retail because they've never purchased a crypto? They know enough. They know they should have it. They're not poor, right? They have some money to play with. They're probably investing in stocks, gold, or whatnot. But they didn't own crypto, and they yet have questions about it that aren't really, which coin is going to 100x. It was more, I'm working in traditional finance. I'm learning about how it's going to, tokenization is going to create a 24/5 and a 24/7 market pretty soon.
Yeah.
Wow. But that doesn't constitute in my opinion, as retail, because retail is not participating in this bull run. That's factual, right?
Interesting.
There's no volume. There's nothing to share that retail is participating in this bull run. And that's equally exciting and scary because it's not in our hands right now. And what happens when they do join in? Does it go parabolic? Or do the bigwigs pull the rug because now it's their show right now? I didn't think we'd get here so quickly since after COVID, but retail is not participating there. But we're participating at Token in some essence.
Okay, yeah. Or what do you think about retail? Did you get the feeling that it was more institutional or retail?
I might be a little biased because I went to quite a lot of RWA stuff as well, but even at the main event, I had the same experience with Kevin. I was like, so what are you here for? And they'll be like, well, I'm just looking around. And it's not about making money on crypto. Like Kevin said, it's like learning about, blockchain and all these new technologies. And
That's an expensive ticket to come for your first time, just to walk around and get some fun stuff, you know?
Yeah, it is expensive old ticket to do that.
Yeah. But good. That shows the industry has potential for the mass audience and not just the 100x moonshot type of guys. Is that a part of Singapore and the geographic demographics, or is that just a sign of the times? I don't know.
Kevin, I think it could be a sign of the times, because lately I've been getting people within traditional finance in London, the city of London, have been reaching out and contacting me just to ask questions about digital assets and about tokenization and things like that. And it looks like they really are trying to brush up on their own education and also try to get in on this tokenization game. I really think, as Nori mentioned, their real world asset tokenization seems to have been the thing that's caught their attention. And obviously, like BlackRock.
Again, you said London, though. London is geographically and demographically a finance capital. So to talk about tokenization is easier than to do it in, North Africa, or to do it in LATAM, where payments might be more important. So again, I think the buck is still up for a debate, because Singapore is also a financial hub. So to talk about these sophisticated financial tools and being able to implement them into banking or fintech or finance, easier than to do that in a country that doesn't have a solid foundation of finance. So again, I'm still trying to think, is when you say London and they're excited about tokenization, well, yeah, they have the second largest stock exchange and fintech, country in the world, and then you got Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, Singapore, Asia's story. They're a lot more sophisticated when it comes to finance. So I'm interested to know, because in America, it's so wide. That's why we have like Bitcoin Miami and Nashville that the Bitcoiners come out for. We have ETHCC in Denver and all of those that are the ETH maxis. You got Solana Summit that's chosen, Vietnam this year, and also now Abu Dhabi, because that's where all the crypto bros are. Solana's
right. Interesting. Yeah.
Protocol,
but Kevin, that's interesting. Do you think the space is kind of fracturing? You know what I mean? Like it used to seem like it was one big sort of like ball of kind of crypto and like liberal sort of like out there fringe innovation. But do you think it's fracturing now? Because you mentioned like Solana going to Vietnam and Dubai, where all the crypto bros are, and then in the US and then London, obviously you've got a lot of like TradFi moving in. So do you think the whole sort of crypto thing is starting to fracture?
Yeah, and I don't see that as so negative, right? I think fracturing is also finding your tribe, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe, and never more than now. There's never going to be a consensus of people that are meme token fans. There's that room in the back that's the meme guys, right? That you got the NFT hardcore NFT people. And if you're still in it after being down 99% and it's really gone nowhere, then you really believe that you believe it. That's great. That's great. I'm not here to bash people. I'm a Bitcoin maxi, so I love my Bitcoin events. I make fun of the Ethereum people, but now they've actually done really freaking well. So I can give credit where credit is due. After 2.0 got launched on Ethereum a year and a half ago, they've been doing very well. And arguably, they might be the best technology play in all of this because of things like tokenization of stocks, where Ethereum is shining. Solana, yes, it's a crypto bro protocol, but they also do fantastic things. I should mention I'm an honorary member of the Solana super team in Vietnam, right? And I'm not the best fan of Solana, but I love the Vietnamese community of Solana because they're builders. Every Solana super team has its own niche, right? India, Vietnam are notoriously builders. Dubai and UAE is for investments and community. Then you got the London, the UK Solana super team, which is going after institutional plays. So each one separate of each other, but working harmoniously, is Solana's super team. And they've created a lot of jobs. They're not just giving out free money for grants. You got the Aptos people, you got the Sui people, and very few are crossing they might have an affinity to 2 or 3, but not no longer 5 or 6 buckets. Like 2 years ago, we would all go to the NFT room. We would stop by the meme room. We would say hi to the Bitcoin maxis. We'd flick up Ethereum guys, and then we'd walk past the Cardano people.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. Nori, what's your thoughts there?
Optimistic view. I think, Kevin, you're like a really cool guy. So I think you integrate with everybody. But I think, the competition is a good thing. But if it's too tribal at the same time, do we need all these layer ones doing the same thing? You're doing all layer twos, surely if we focused on a few of them, I'm sure we would get there much quicker. Same with
just like speakers, right? Like you look at the agenda, you find your affinity to what that speaker's talking about, and if he's good at that talk per se, like DATs and Tom Lee, and then Arthur Hayes this year dropped a hammer, pretty much destroyed EU, absolutely destroyed France and the countries that are suffering, because let's be honest, the EU is cooked. They cooked themselves, they fried themselves, and it's not the EU, it's the European Union of Germany, or however you want to, combine that, because Germany is running the show. If they start printing, you're going to start begging for it. Quantitative easing in the EU hasn't even started. And then people like France, their best bet, which is what Arthur Hayes' whole talk was, you should just leave the euro now. If you leave the euro now, you have a chance. If you don't, there's zero chance. So again, who doesn't have a chance? Italy, Spain, Greece, they're all cooked, right? They're absolutely cooked. Germany runs the show, and France, being so big, again, Arthur Hayes totally destroyed it, might have a chance. I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, Christine Lagarde is wanting to make the euro a sort of like a global currency of trust and stuff like that. But I think that has, when it comes to trust in fiat currencies, like you mentioned, your Bitcoin maxi, like I suppose the ethos or the principles of hard currencies now have really, they've just gone across the globe now. Everyone kind of gets the idea of Austrian economics on hard currency and stuff like that. So when she comes out and talks about a fiat currency these days, wanting to make it a global currency of trust, and maybe like something that would even like potentially rival the dollar when it comes to like a dominant currency around the world where other currencies can be paid to. I think that's just, she hasn't read the room basically. But here, look, Kevin, I know you're a Bitcoin maxi and stuff like that, but I'd like to bring in now that gold is just basically broken through $4,000 per ounce. And a lot of people are starting to think now, okay, so gold, Bitcoin is digital gold, but you can also get digital gold when it comes to Tether gold and Pax gold. So where does this leave the argument for Bitcoin?
The same thing that gold always got over time, is store of value. It's the best store of value in the history of mankind, and it's in its 15th year thesis, and that's proven on factual numbers, right? That's it. It's a store of value. Very little has been built on it, and that's what we're hopeful for. A lot of us, I love Bitcoin DeFi's potential, and with this whole Genius Act, with this whole new administration, and the opposite, like you said, Lagarde, and the regulation to death that's happening over at MiCA and the EU, it's a joke, and you can never get anything like this to happen, like a Bitcoin DeFi in its full potential, if you keep regulating these things to death, right? So, but gold going up to 4 or 5, and Turkish lira dissipating, going into the dust. The Iranian currency is just absolute shambles, even though it's the 15th, 18th largest economy in the world. The Vietnamese dong, which is purposely held down by the country, which is also a top 20 economy of the world, when gold is rearing in all of these countries that I mentioned, right? Because of the store of value potential. And if we find out Fort Knox has nothing in it, then they'll just tank the whole market anyway, because there's no need for it, which is why I think they felt they need to go all in on crypto, because no one was taking the bull by the horns at all. And the digitization of all of it, and now stablecoins, and now trying to get us out of debt with crypto, is potentially the only way to win this battle. And it's the future battle. If we believe that crypto is the currency of AI, then this is a really long battle, and someone's got to win it. And of course, it's happening right in front of our eyes. Gold is, I think, always going to remain a fantastic store of value. I don't see it going away. It's not going to go down to $500 again. That's just not the way economy works. That's not the way money works. It's not good for Bitcoin. It's not good for the world, right? Equally, Bitcoin going to $100 is not good for gold. It's not good for the world. It's not good for economy anymore. We've passed that point.
Yeah, like that's interesting. Nori, when it comes to these different like currencies, you mentioned like BNB, didn't you? Like that was a pretty hot topic at this year's okay.
Percent. I mean, just going back to what you guys were discussing, I feel like there's a generational wealth transfer going on. You know, everyone's getting away from cash and going into hard assets, right? Because, for example, the dollar, how much did it devalue? Like 10% over the year or something like that?
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah, because they're printing and they want to get they've got massive debt. So they devalue their currency, then they're going to devalue their debt. So it's easier for them to pay, right? So, and I mean, the beneficiaries of all this is obviously gold and Bitcoin. But I was talking about BNB because I see a lot of activity going on BNB right now. I mean, it's shooting up. Some people might say it's manipulated. But yeah, it's going up a lot, and it feels like the whole ecosystem is buzzing right now. You know, all the meme coins are popping up there, like we saw in Solana last year. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But I think part of that is also to do with Aster and all the perp dexes popping up as well. But yeah,
something on top of that, Nori, is like if BNB is as valued as it is, and Binance is the largest exchange in that in this game, and yet the biggest retail market in the world doesn't have access to it. The United States does not have access to Binance. It has Binance US, which is not the same at all. It's a joke. And so BNB is their potential way to invest in the world's biggest, whereas the world's biggest bank in JP Morgan is able to be traded everywhere on the, everybody, any retail investor around the world through their OTC or through their stock financial advisors can get a bit of that bank through the stock market. But JP Morgan doesn't have a coin, although JPM coin, they tried that, and I'm sure in the background they'll do some stuff. But if that's the case, and if we're headed towards something of a convergence of TradFi and our industry, then you better watch out for the American banks or the Bank of China or the Bank of Singapore and these type of banks, because if they start to turn on those digital asset engines and potentially mimic what a BNB does, because Jamie Dimon is arguably equally as popular as CZ, just in different rooms, right? So it's crazy. Tom Lee said that. He's like, you thought that these companies were valued a lot now? Imagine once they start tokenizing their assets. Imagine once the stock market is 24/5 or 24/7, and then see their values shoot up. So the bank stocks are extremely devalued right now. I loved to hear that because it's actually true. Yeah. Bank of China's devalued. The JP Morgan's devalued. Robinhood is extremely devalued, in my opinion, coming up in the next 10 years. So numbers is just fugazi now. Don't worry about 1 trillion, 2 trillion. We're after 100 trillion.
Interesting, Kevin, because would that come at the detriment then to crypto native companies? Because if like these big sort of legacy incumbent financial institutions are going to borrow the best bits from the crypto industry, make them their own, this is going to come to the detriment of our native sort of industries.
It goes back to like what you said about is Satoshi rolling around in his grave or not, or having a beer. He's been rolling around for a long time, right? If we look at I thought it was Hal Finney all along, and I'll die with that. I thought it was the most plausible, and he was the smartest, coolest dude in all of this. So I would dream that in Hal Finney,
Yeah.
And he's definitely rolling in his grave because none of this thesis makes sense for them, him, whoever. But at the same time, yeah, the institutionals are just stepping in, but they're not innovating much yet. Once they start innovating, now they got the regulations behind them. The capital is not a problem. They can sell you anything. So my mom is going to be doing some form of DeFi by the end of her, term, because she's going to have to click on Wells Fargo or Chase, and it's not going to look like our version of DeFi. It'll just be a little better yield than 0.001% savings account like in America. They'll give her a 8% option, and she won't ask how. She'll have to pay taxes on the back end on it anyway, and they'll just be able to do that because of yield farming in their own way.
Interesting.
More assets to do that. MicroStrategy, case in point.
Well, that's it. With the blockchain innovation will just move into becoming like back end technology at some stage.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And do you think, even the word crypto will sort of like die out at some stage?
It's not that it has to. It's just that it's irrelevant. Like, we don't run around saying fiat, 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 right? You don't go to a country and say, let me get some of that fiat. Let me get some of that credit. You just say, let me have some dong or lira or dollars.
Yeah.
So, and then you say, what's your credit card rate? These are very just commonality words. So crypto was a dirty word for a very long time.
It was a dirty word. It was hyper. Yeah.
And now it's still just kind of like a degen word, like crypto. So like cryptocurrency, right? It's funny. It means something different, right? It's the same meaning, but when you say it out loud, it's not that dirty connotation. It's a little bit of sophistication now, but what a year can do, right? In our industry.
That's true. I suppose the technical elements of the early days of the internet, we don't run around like saying those things either. We don't,
IP, VoIP, MOIP. Yeah. We don't talk about those, but that's literally what we're doing right here.
What we're doing. Yeah.
And that's all they would say is like using this language for sure.
Well, that is interesting. Well, Nuri, what's your view on that? Like this sort of all of the, I suppose, that taxonomy, is that what it's called, of the crypto space might all just die away at some stage?
I think so. I mean, we don't say things are online anymore. We take everything for granted, right? Like it's...
Yeah.
I mean, as you guys said, hopefully blockchain technology will be so embedded into our lives that it's going to be, excuse me, my voice, is going to be like running in the background. Everything is smooth. No one cares what technology is, right? So,
and that's the awesome part about this whole thing. That's great.
That is great. I agree, Kevin. I think it's actually refreshing. This is a really refreshing conversation because just think at some stage we needed to mature and get over ourselves and just go, look, you know what I mean? And it's just like, come on, like,
the aspect of everything, or the blockchainization of everything is awesome. Because if you know anything about it, if there's viewers that are listening that don't know truly what the power of blockchain is, I would urge you to learn about it. And then once you start to learn about it, it's exactly like that analogy of the internet. You can't turn it off. You can't just go back. You might be able to turn it off proverbially, but you can't go back. We had this red line in the sand before blockchain and after blockchain. Crypto is not blockchain, right? It's the currency of the technology, which can or cannot be used, should or should not be used. And we'll see where that goes for different companies. But blockchain technology and being run for everything in the future, I'd love to see every potential voice over IP or anything on streaming be more secure on the blockchain, and the data points are stronger, and blah, blah, blah. Like a million different things. We can talk cliche for hours, but none of what we just said there in the last 36 seconds had to do with crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, protocol, XYZ. It's just the best potential blockchain, which can be any one of the protocols. And I don't think the best blockchain has been built yet. I'm going to take a leap out there and put myself out there as well and say that the best blockchain, the best protocol, and I guess what the argument of best is, that's for another conversation, but I don't think the best one, because we haven't talked about quantum proofing yet. We haven't talked about the potential there. And again, we didn't say the word crypto or token in that, or coin,
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm loving that.
That is fantastic because, like, I love that meme, like token not needed, or what, there's a lot of like protocols out there. There's no need for a token to be like, for them to have a native token. But actually, let's talk a little bit about quantum proofing, because obviously, we get these like news stories every so often, every couple of weeks actually. The cryptographic encryption is going to like be eroded or become defunct within the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Where does this leave like blockchains? Where does this leave Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean that's up for debate. If it does start to get attacked more than ever before, that's just not good for all of us. So the people that should be stepping to the plate to fix this are the people with the deepest pockets and the furthest ahead of technologies, which are the Silicon Valley bigwigs, right? The Googles, the OpenAI types, the XAI types, the Elon Musk types that should be trying to solve it and get in front of it, because it's also not good for the AI story. If blockchain can be hurt and manipulated at the highest level, then where does that leave the most vulnerable of AI, right? I would love to see it get really solved or start to attack that solution at the highest levels. And we would always joke 5-6 years ago that the only one that can do it 5-6 years ago, maybe not now anymore, is like a Google, right? It is someone that has all of it, has the GPUs, has the servers, has the manpower, has the deep pockets, has the connections, and they're hacker boys by nature, the guys who build it, and they're damn good at what they do. And maybe that's still the case, but I gotta believe that we're not giving it enough attention. That's for sure.
Actually,
nothing will happen.
I was talking to people from the Ethereum Foundation, and they were saying exactly that. Like, we're not doing enough about this, and it will come to the stage where, all the stuff that people have downloaded onto their phones, like MetaMask wallets and all of these things, they'll all need to be updated, when it comes to like quantum proofing tech into them. And that's a serious thing to do, like to try and like do all these updates around the globe and like, anything like, people's hardware wallets, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it could be a nightmare.
100%. We've already seen the vulnerabilities of like Ledger, and that's a physical hardware, which is hardware is easier to manipulate in a lot of ways. But yeah, we haven't given enough attention, and we should, but that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah, same here. Kevin, it was really, really great to have you on the BeInCrypto podcast. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate it, Brian, Nori. It was a great conversation. I hope the listeners got some the meat and potatoes from Token and previous, and more to come.